how gamification works. And if you want, could you give the name of the app? Zombification? No, it is Zombie Run. Okay, I will type it here. Okay. So if you want to use gamification in your classroom, you have to keep in mind to take into account so-called gamification pyramid. It has 3 layers. At the lowest level, it is gamification components. Okay, thank you, Emily. And the next layer, it is game mechanics, and the third one is game dynamics. And now we are going to talk about each of them. So what about the first layer? So what are the most popular elements of any computer or board game? Of course, experience points, leaderboard, badges, progress bar, avatars, and level. So what about experience points, and how different are they from marks that we give our students at school? So if we talk about experience points, they don't have any negative connotations. If you've got F for your assignment, you will be very disappointed. But if you've got 1 point, you will be still happy because okay, you could at least reach at least 1 point. You could earn at least 1 point. Also, you can accumulate these points, and they show your progress in the game. We started with using experience points, and we created our first experiment. It was about a space travel. So the sun is going to explode, and we have to find another planet where we can move all the people. And so you are the chosen ones, and you have to find this new planet for the humanity. So it is very, very important to choose the topic, to choose the metaphor which will have this epic meaning. I think that all people believe that they are heroes inside, and in a game they want to demonstrate that they are heroes. And if you choose a topic, for example, okay, you are going to take part in Olympic Games, I don't think it'll be very motivating. But if you tell your students that you are going to save the planet, or you are going to find a missing boy, or you are going to fight with zombies or ghosts, so the engagement will be much higher. Language heroes. Okay. And so we created these small pieces of cardboard and put a picture of a spaceship, and we started giving our students these cardboards for correct answers and for homework which was done. And we also created a leaderboard. At the very beginning, it was very, very simple. We just used a blackboard, and so we created the avatars, just printed out avatars for each person. And at the end of the lesson, teacher collected experience points that our students earned during the lesson, and put the scores on the blackboard. And so if we talk about the leaderboard, it is very important to divide it into several parts. You can have a look at this picture. You can see that there are, well, how many? About 10 people in the group. And of course, the person who is at the bottom of the leaderboard, he knows that he would be never able to reach the person at the top. I think it might be a little bit frustrating. That's why we divided the scores, the leaderboard, into 2 segments. So if you have two less than 200 points, you are a lance corporal, so this is a military rank. But if you've got 200 points, so you get a new military rank and you become a corporal. And so a very interesting thing happened. Those people who were at the bottom, they started competing with one another. So the goal of the person of the bottom became to overcome only those two people who were above him, and that added lots of motivation. But of course, if you are at the border and you are about to become a corporal, of course you want to get this rank and you start working even harder because you want to get a new military rank. So this is how our leaderboard worked. Nowadays I use Class Dodger, which is a very convenient tool. So I don't have to calculate, to do sums, to add all these scores. So everything is done automatically, and students can see their scores, and we can invite parents, and parents also can see the progress of their students, and students can customize their avatars. They don't have to be like a green monster all the time. They can change the color, they can change the hairdo and things like this. But what I don't like about Class Dodger, I can't divide my leaderboard into segments, and that's why when I come to the classroom, I still use my old-fashioned blackboard to put this rating on the blackboard. Okay, and we use different types of experience points, but we still use these cardboard pieces. We just put different pictures on them. If it is a space journey, it's a spaceship. If it is a game about ghosts and our students find themselves in a haunted house, it is a spooky. Or we've got a game about artificial intelligence, and students, they can earn small brains. Okay, can get some extra brains if they need them. Okay, so I'll go back and tell you what else is necessary. I think is necessary to use. Okay, we introduced also badges. So what is a badge? It's like a medal. You award it for something outstanding, for some outstanding performance. You can give a badge for a person who has never been late, or you can give a badge to a person who has done his homework 3 days in a row. Or well, in our first game, we used two badges. One with these badges also came some privileges. One badge, it was about, okay, if you've got this badge, you are allowed not to do your homework. I mean, not all the time, but just once. For one lesson, you can come unprepared and still get all the points you were supposed to get for this homework. And you know, the student who had this badge, he had never used it. I asked him, when are you going to use this badge? He said, okay, one day I will be very busy and I won't be able to do the homework, and the homework will be very very big, but he hadn't used it anyway. And also we used multipliers, so you can at one lesson you can double all your scores, but you have to be very careful with badges. If you use a badge, a person should get it because he really deserved it. If you just, okay, you came to the class, you are the first person to turn up today, okay, here is your badge, it will be more like an insult, not a reward. So think it over very carefully. Do you really need these badges, and how are you going to avoid them? Also, we used a progress bar. So usually in any game you can see so how much time is still left before you complete the first level, or if you use LinkedIn, you've got this progress bar which says how much your account is your account complete or not. Okay, it is somewhere inside our brains. We always want to complete the work, and so we can use it also at our English lessons. For our first game we used a Lego spaceship. At the end of each game, at the end of each lesson, sorry, students could buy one piece of Lego using their experience points. So one piece of Lego, it costs like 5 points, and they could, well, if one student had only 2, another 3, they could just put them together and buy a piece of Lego. And so just one spaceship was the whole group, they were building just one spaceship, and they knew that when they finish building, when their spaceship would be ready, they would be able to fly away, and that is when the journey could start. And we kept spaceships of other groups in one cupboard, so they could see the progress of other groups, and it also added some kind of competition between groups. Okay, this is what we started with. If you've got any questions so far, that is, well, I will be ready to answer. So if you don't have any questions, we can go on. Okay, any questions? Okay, well, just no. Okay, then we can go. Yeah, so the result was immediate. Students started working. Even those boys who were like 14, 15-year-olds, so their mothers told them, okay, you have to attend these English lessons because, well, in the future you will need English for your work. But now they could feel the meaning, their own meaning. Why are they learning the English? Why are they doing this task? Because they wanted to win in the game. They wanted to go higher in a leaderboard. And you know what is good about games? The reward is immediate. You do something, you've got a reward, so dopamine goes into your blood, and you want to perform this action again and again because you want this reward, and it is a kind of a loop. It is called dopamine loop. But when you tell your students, okay, you need this material to pass a test at the end of the term, or you need English because you will be successful in your career, so these goals are too far away from them, and they don't bother them at all. And that is a quotation from one of our students. Oh, I'm not a loser anymore. Some special boys, they got used to this feeling, okay, I'm not very clever, I never get high marks. But when we started a game, when we started gamification, they went up in the leaderboard very, very quickly, and they realized that they are very smart and they can do anything. Okay, we've got a question from Christina. Are these components valid for all games? Yes, they are valid for all games, but when you start thinking about your particular case, you don't have to use all of these elements or all of these components at once. You just think about 1 or 2 behavior changes that you want in your students. So what do you want them to do? Do you want them to do the homework? Do you want them to come on time? Okay, and you just add the element which will help you to get this goal. Then maybe in 2 weeks you will add something else. So don't make your system overloaded at the very beginning, because it might be very difficult, not for your students, it might be difficult for you as a teacher to follow all of them. And students started asking for extra assignments. So as a private school, so sometimes students couldn't attend our classes due to illness, or maybe their parents took them away somewhere, or while they were busy with something else. And if they were not at the lesson, that meant that they couldn't get all the points that other students could get during the lesson. And as they started coming up to teachers and asking for some extra tasks to do, just not to lag behind and to keep up with the group. And all homework was done, so everything was perfect. ClassDojo works well and it's free, but I don't like the negative reinforcement approach to feedback. What about negative? Well, actually, I never use negative points in ClassDojo. Yes, in ClassDojo you can use positive and negative points, but I never use negative ones, only positive ones. And we worked like this for about 3 or 4 years, and then we realized that this first level game components, game mechanics, it is not enough. It gives only short-term motivation. Students, they are focused only on points, not English. And in groups where we had young students like 10, 11 year olds, they were like, real killers, not achievers. They started cheating, and as we had physical points, they even could steal points from other people. So it is very important not to stop at the first level. It is called PBL, Points Badges Leaderboard. To my great big regret, many people all over the world, they think that gamification, it is about points, badges, and leaderboard, but it is absolutely incorrect. Well, when I went to talks on gamification at IATEFL conference and at TESOL conference in Baltimore, I could hear people talking only about points and badges, and very soon people get disappointed and say, gamification is just nothing, it gives only extrinsic motivation, it doesn't work properly. But it is only because you stop at the first level, and you have to go further. And who remembers what is the second level of the gamification pyramid? Okay, does anybody remember what was the second layer? I showed you this pyramid at the beginning. Mechanics, yeah, game mechanics. Very good, Eva. Okay, and Tom, thank you. You can remember. Of course, there are a lot of game mechanics, and I don't have time to talk about all of them right now. When you play a computer game, or when you play a board game, it is not points, it is not your progress in leaderboard which involves you, but you like, as Andrei mentioned here, I think, strategy. You like the way the game is balanced. You like that you can make some decisions, and these decisions, they affect the game and they affect the outcome of the game. And today I want to talk only about two things which I think are very important for any game and which are important for gamification. So meaningful choices and tries and fails. If we have a look at gamification, you might say that it is very, very similar to school. We've got points, marks, we've got grades, levels, and we've got so what else? We've got also leaderboard. Yes, you know who is the best student in your class. But what is different? Well, what is different for me? In school, you are not allowed to fail. If you fail a test, so you can't redo it. If you fail an exam, so usually this is the end of everything. What is good about games? You learn through fails. You never read instructions. Okay, when you play a computer game, have you ever read any manuals, instructions how to play this game? I believe not. You just start playing the game, and this is how you explore the game, and this is how you learn what you can do and what you can't do in this game. And also, when any game wants to make the person playing this game clever, smart, bright. And I think that school does the opposite. For some reason, I don't know, maybe you've got other examples, but I've got my son at school, and when I come to parents meeting, teachers always say, okay, your children are so stupid, they're so clever, but they don't want to do anything. And I try to make them do it, they still don't want to do it. And sometimes I think that maybe they have to know something about gamification. Okay. And we started creating our own games, which substitute units from course books. And this is an example of our haunted house game. This is a card game. And students here, they learn vocabulary safety at home, and they practice past simple and how it goes. Students are told that they are in a haunted house and they have to explore this house and to find a way out of it. And they don't even know which vocabulary they have to use in this game. They try doing different tasks on the cards and they fail, and when they fail they get an electric shock, or they can get a card, because all these words are like hurt yourself, get an electric shock, get drowned. And but they've got a first aid kit available, and at some point somebody says, okay, maybe we will go to the first aid kit first, and then continue walking around the house. And it is their own decision. It's not the teacher who says, okay, today we have to learn these 7 words because we need them for our speaking activity at the end of the lesson, or you will be able to buy tickets when you go to Great Britain. Okay, something like this. But students, they decide, okay, I want to learn these words, and believe me, they will remember these words forever. Okay, Anastasia is right. And is it possible to get the flashcards for this game, please? Okay, we can discuss it later, I think. If you email, well, I will leave my email address at the end of the presentation. Sometimes when I tell about this idea to other teachers, they say, okay, we are going to lose so much time. Yes, because I remember my feelings at the beginning. My students were trying some tasks and they failed, and the time, it was like 15 minutes from the beginning of the lesson, and we still didn't learn anything. And I started feeling a little bit frustrated. But the outcome and the effect is more important. By the end of the lesson, they could remember 18 new words because they were emotionally charged. And what about meaningful choices? How I do it at my, that is just a picture of children playing the game. Of course, I don't always have a ready-made game to play with my students, because it takes like usually about 3 or 4 months to be ready with one unit. But we gamify every lesson, and we try to gamify any activities which are used during the lesson. And that is one of the examples. Imagine that your students, well, we still assume that we are in a haunted house, and there are 3 rooms. There are 3 doors in the room, and only 2 people can enter the room, open the door and enter another room, because it is too dangerous to go alone. And you can see asterisks on the doors. Door number 1, it is a very weak ghost. There is a very weak ghost behind this door, and you can easily beat him. Behind the second door, the ghost is a little bit stronger, and behind the third door, we've got the strongest ghost. And so students, they decide which door they want to open. So what kind of task they want to do. Do they want to do an easy task or a difficult task? And who do they want to go with? Do they want to go with Maria, who is a weak student? Okay, I will go with Maria, and I will definitely be the winner, and I can get all the score. And the number of asterisk, it also shows how many points you can get if you win, if you do this task better than your partner. Okay, and so this is how it works. Students decide which door to go to. They decide who they want to go to. I just use game pieces for it, and then I give them a minute and a half to do the task. Then they swap papers. I give them the keys. They check. They count how many correct answers they've got, and the person with the greatest number of correct answers is the winner. He gets all the points. And then we play with the same tasks 2 or 3 rounds. It is very important for students to be able to do similar tasks again and again, because this is how teaching happens. And sometimes they say they try to cheat, they try to remember the keys. And if it is a vocabulary task, well, actually, this is what I want them to do. I want them to remember these words, and they think that they're cheating. Okay, is this idea clear? Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, we've got another game, Ingrid game, and we don't have doors, we've got cyborgs our students have to fight with. And if I don't have any game available, I just prepare these pieces of paper, and my students decide where they want to go. Of course, this is just one example of frameworks which I use at my lessons. There are some other frameworks which are used to make to let my students make meaningful choices and feel that it is not me, the teacher, who is the boss in the classroom, but they decide what they want to do. Yeah, and low-tech approach. It's again, as a mother, I didn't want students to spend more time using computers, and there was another thing to make an application. It was well, like we couldn't afford it actually. But I read somewhere just a couple of months ago that nowadays more and more people, they turn from computer games to board games because they want more socializing. And so this is what we do. So we create board games to study English. And at some point, we also realized that it is important to use games at each stage of a lesson, not to use just exercises from course books, but try to convert this exercise into a game. Because if you gamify a boring thing, it'll be just a boring gamified thing. So the product has to be very good. It has to be of excellent quality, and only then you can gamify it. And this is what how we started thinking, okay, if it is a vocabulary lesson, what kind of games and activities I can use to introduce new language, what games and activities I can use to practice the pronunciation of the words, the spelling of the words, what kind of speaking games can I use. And we started making these bank games, and of course we went to the internet to look for these games. And it turned out that the internet has lots of number of activities which are not real games. And sometimes I ask my teachers, okay, have you used this game? Yeah, well, I have used it, but my students didn't really like it. And when I have a look at it, I realize that it is just an activity. And if you say, okay, children, let's play a game, it won't make it a game anyway. Just as an example, this activity, find someone who, which is very, very popular in English teaching. Do you use this activity? Uh, Okay, and well, actually, if we talk about find someone who, it is not a game, it is an activity. But if you add some game attributes to it, like you add a goal, and you add winners and rewards, time limit, maybe the person who will find somebody in the show within like 2 or 3 minutes will be the winner, then it will become a game. Okay, so to make it understandable, so I use just simple games instead of exercises, and I put a gamification framework above all of it. So I've got games like quests, like small quests inside my gamification framework. But also we've got a framework with all these points, badges, leaderboards, and different strategies that people can use. And I would advise you to have a look at Yukai Chu. That is a pioneer of gamification. Have a look at his site, and he talks a lot about core drives, what motivates people, and why PBLs don't work, and what kind of game mechanics we can use to make people really motivated. Okay, I'm running out of time. And the third layer, at some point, we thought, okay, can we create our own game, like an analog to a computer game? So can we add a story, and maybe we don't need a course book at all, and we can make up our own closed games which can be used at our lessons. When you play a computer game, very often you are fascinated by the aesthetic of this game, by the story itself, by characters, and that is why you also like playing this game. And at first we thought that it would be very difficult to make up stories, and we even were, well, really depressed for about 2 or 3 summer months. But then we realized that all stories are the same. There is a poor guy, Harry Potter, who has got two friends, and he has an enemy, Voldemort, and that enemy wants to take over the Muggle and Wizard world, and with the help of the wands, they defeat him. Or there is a poor guy, Luke Skywalker, who has two crazy friends, and he has an enemy, Darth Vader, and with the help of a sword, he can defeat him. And just all the stories in the world are the same. And so, well, it is very easy to make up your own story. You choose a hero, you choose an anti-hero, and this is how, and you add some kind of conflict, and this is how it works. And so nowadays, so my lessons might look like this. So I use lots of gamification techniques, and also I started using our RPG games. And I think also there is a big future for these games, for these games in English teaching, because they give an opportunity for authentic output. I'm talking about role play games. So at the end of each unit, my students, they've got a boss fight. And this is a speaking activity where they have to demonstrate all their skills. They can use all the badges that they earned during the game. And this RPG game can last for 60 minutes, and students talk all the time. Okay, and I think we could move from that sleeping girl at the beginning to students who are really engaged and who like English. And I remember parents of my students calling and saying, "Okay, what are you doing? Why is my son why is my son doing his homework now? He has never been doing it before." Okay, and if you are an English teacher using gamification, I think you will become a teacher or over 2000 level. So that is just a new, if you know how to use RPG techniques, if you know how to use gamification techniques, so it will bring you to the next level. And this is our website, studycraft.org or .ru. You can use both. And if you've got any questions, you can subscribe to us, and you will get news from us. And if you've got any questions personally to me, I can give you my email address. It is peresada@gmail.com. And one important thing, if you want to gamify your lesson, and if you want to play games with your students, and if you want to turn your lessons into a real fascinating offline computer game, always remember to have fun, because if you will take it too seriously, your students will feel it and they won't be able to go inside the game. It will be a kind of awkward moment. So you don't have to think about teaching at this moment. You have to play the game and you have to enjoy this game. Okay, that's it. That is what I was going to talk today about, and I'm ready to answer any of your questions if you've got one. And don't forget that if you've got a question, please type it into Q&A box. Okay. If you don't have any questions right now, and maybe if you come up with any other questions later, you can just email me. I'll be very happy to answer all of your questions, because I am dreaming about the world when teaching will become just a game, and there won't be a profession, a teacher, but there will be a profession like teacher game designer or teacher trainer game technician, things like this. And we want to use course books, and if you want to complete a level A2, let's say, you have to play 10 games, and then you can go to your boss fight with Cambridge.
Okay, Elena, thank you very much. That was really, really interesting. And I think, I don't know about for other people, but certainly for me, it was, I think, dispelled some of the myths that we have about gamification. Perhaps we all have some doubts about what it could be. We have got some questions for you. Maybe you couldn't see them. You're still there, are you, Elena? Yeah, sure.
Yes, I'm here, but
okay, no, I've got some others as well. Maybe you can't see them. How about I read out the questions? Do you want to put your webcam back on or not?
Okay, yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, so Lilia asked, I don't think you answered this. She said, what if a student doesn't like games? Like somebody who says I'm too serious for games.
Okay, there are no people who don't like games. There are people who don't like this
Okay.
particular kind of games. Well, actually, all people are divided into four types. There are more types, but the basic classification divides people into four types: killers, achievers, explorers, and socializers. And you know your students, and you know what motivates your students. That means that you have to apply game mechanics and game elements which will motivate these particular people. Not all people, not all the students are achievers, and that means they are not interested in points. But maybe your students are interested in socializing, so you have to add more techniques, letting people some kind of collaborative tasks, quests, or maybe your students are explorers and so they like to explore your game world, and if they perform this or that task, you open another location and they can go there. Just you have to find what motivates
Okay, thank
your
you very much.
students.
Okay, for some more questions here. By the way, anybody who's written their questions in the chat, if you could copy them into the Q&A box, it's a bit easier for us to find. Okay, and then can you?
I can see one from Olga.
Right.
How
Okay.
often do you use games?
Hmm.
Well, it's in general chat. Okay. Uh, I think that so you don't have to think how often you use the game. So you have to play the game from the very first lesson of your term. So your students come to your classroom and you start a game, and the game ends when they
Right.
go on holiday. Okay. So it is always a game. You are always within the game.
Okay.
One-to-one lessons. I know that, well, I don't have, personally, I don't have one-to-one students, I don't have private students, but my colleagues, they used our games with when teaching one-to-one, and they just, the student competes not with other students, but with some kind of benchmark. So if you can get 10 points, well, if you can do this task like 80% is correct, then you can get a point. If you can't reach this 80%, you don't get a point. Or a teacher can be
Okay,
sure
thanks
of
very
it.
much. Yeah, I've got another question here from Marina Propilgina. Um, are there any problems with discipline? I don't think I've got the whole question here, Marina, but she said, I imagine the kids' emotions. I don't know what it says after that, but yeah, so yeah.
Uh, I can understand the question. Okay. Uh, when you add fun to your lesson, you have to be very careful, and it should be kind of constructive fun. And so at the very beginning, when we just started working with gamification, sometimes, well, our kids were just carried away, and well, I think at the very beginning we had some problems with discipline. But now I try, well, first of all, I try to use card games, not real games. So now we don't uh, like put on soup balls on the heads, and we don't jump around the classroom all the time. So most of the things, they are inside our minds, and you are the teacher and you are the master of the game. You are the game master, and if you know that your students are, so you have to balance active and like calm activities just to keep the discipline. But I don't mind if it is too noisy in my classroom. It is always very noisy in my classroom, and very often my students do different tasks at the same time, and somebody is fighting because he has near he with the boss in his game, and somebody is still at the beginning of the game and they are still doing different things. and maybe teachers from the next rooms can think that I don't know how to handle children, but
Okay,
well, I don't
right.
mind, of course.
Okay. Um, Another question here from one of our trainers, actually, Chris Rose. He says, can gamification help to foster a spirit of collaboration as well as one of competition?
Yes, and it is very important. Well, that's a very good question. So gamification, it's not always about competition. Competition is only one out of eight core drives which motivate students. And when I use gamification, I always use a so-called PvE games. It is person versus environment. And my students all together, they have to fight with some kind of threat which goes from outside. And so only all together they can overcome, they can defeat this big threat. And so we use lots of like cooperative quests, only all together, only helping other students. Well, I've got some points, and at some point, well, my partner now is going to fight with the boss, and he needs these points more than I do, so I will give my points to him because it will bring us all as a
Mm,
team to victory.
okay,
So that's
great.
how it
Okay.
works.
I've got a question from Deanna Ravlich. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Have you got a book with a description of games or gamification?
Well, actually, I'm now, well, that is a new topic. Well, there are some books available about gamification in general, and there is a very good book by Yukai Chu. I really love him, Yukai Cho, I think. It is called Actionable Octalysis, and you can find out more about it from his website. Now I'm working on my own
Wow.
book, How to Gamify Your English Lesson. I told Joanna that I was planning to write it in a week. No, I failed. I've got I've got 6 pages now. Okay, but I hope to I'll do my best to write to
Okay, so
complete it by
don't,
the end of summer.
Elena, if you want to just put
And
again in the chat box the address of your website, and then perhaps people can follow that, can they? Um,
yeah.
uh, Actually, loads of questions coming now. Folks, if you could put
Yeah.
your questions in the Q&A box, then we're more likely to get to them because we can't do too many more. Let's go to one from Tayana. Um, Tiana says, "Do you work in a private or state school? In state schools, games are considered a waste of time."
Okay, well, it is a private school. That's why, yes, of course, it is easier for us because, well, it's me who makes all the curriculum and my academic director of studies. Yes, but when we show it to teachers who work in state schools, you see, if you work in a state school, you can do just the same things as you usually do, but you just add some elements and mechanics to increase students' involvement, like you add points, badges, and some strategy. And okay, it's very difficult just to explain it just in a few minutes. But if you contact me by email, maybe I can help you and give you some ideas what can be done in state school. And well, we work with many state school teachers. They like the idea to use it at not
Okay.
compulsory
All
but
right. Thanks
optional
very much.
classes.
I'm not sure how easy this one is going to be to answer, but Nora asks, which grammar topics are more popular in these games? I don't know if you can answer that, can you?
Uh, I think it's not like what like you can practice any grammar. Well, actually, this is just a gamification framework, and the content, it's up to you to decide what you are going to put inside your context. But if we talk about ready-made games, well, we don't have too many of them, and we've done just a few for A2
Okay.
level.
I think that's all the questions we've got, unless anybody. Oh, and Tom had one as well. That's Tom, my colleague here. What areas of gamification will you investigate now? Is this Tom? Is this a question to Elena on where she's going next, or is that to everybody? Yes. Okay. So that's for you, Elena. What's next for you?
It is to understand how game mechanics work, and I'm now very much interested in core drives. So what motivates people? Because as Yukaichu says, well, gamification can have another name. It is human-focused approach, and I want just to investigate what motivates different people and what game mechanics can be used to motivate them
Okay.
to do this or that
Sounds
task.
very interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, I'd just like to say thank you so much to Elena because, I mean, for me, it was certainly fascinating. As Elena said at the beginning, she was actually a participant on our materials development course last year, and I was planning to do something with everybody else on gamification, and I suddenly realized we had a participant who knew so much more than me. So Elena did the webinar for me, and then we asked her to come here, and I think excellent. It's really given us loads to think about, and I think what I particularly like is that it's made us think a little bit more deeply, and I think a lot of people do think it's all about points and leaderboards and things like that, but it's really interesting to look more deeply into it. So to Elena, I'd just like to say thank you very, very much, and we hope to see you at NILE again sometime. And to everybody else, thank you so much for coming as well. And I'd just like to tell you a couple of things. One of them, in a minute, I'm going to tell you how you can get a certificate for coming here. You've got a round of applause there, Elena, from Luciana. And yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, how you can get a certificate, and also, if you missed it at the beginning, just a little bit about NILE Online. So don't go away just yet. I'm going to stop the recording